Good morning, everyone. I'm here to introduce the last of our lessons, which is volume. This is definitely a concept I know you've done in elementary school. So what we would be adding on to this is possibly some fractions and decimals as dimensions. And then also we see some questions that involve a missing dimension. And you have to find that missing height or find that missing width. Okay, so just a reminder, how we find volume is we take our length times width times height. Okay, we are just concerned with rectangular prisms and with cubes in sixth grade. So yay! Um, so in the practice problems that we have today, we would take our length times width times height. You can do that multiplication in any order you see fit. Because of that commutative property, we're able to flip-flop the order and still get the same answer. Okay, so for instance, if we had a dimension of 2 times 4 times 6, okay, we could take that and go in whichever order we want. We can go left to right if we want. We could skip around, okay, so we'd end up with getting 8 times 6 would be 48 for a volume. And with volume, our units are always cubic. Okay, so we would have exponent number 3 because we're taking 3 different dimensions to multiply. Okay, so it'd be units cubed. Okay, the second type of question that we're looking at is a missing dimension. Okay, so I'm going to use a different color for that. Meaning we're missing the height, we're missing the width, we're missing the length, one of them. And we need to use the numbers to unravel to find out what that missing dimension is. Okay, so keep in mind, if we had a volume equals length times width times height, which we know, and we know the volume is, I'm going to use the same example so we can test it. We know the volume is 48, and we know the length is 2, and we know the width is 4, but we don't know what the height is. Okay, we're going to use those numbers to help solve. Okay, so we have 48, we know that. We can actually do this math to get 8, and then 8 times h, an unknown, is 48. Now we know that that unknown is 6. We're using the same example, but let's just say we had numbers that we weren't sure. They weren't as obvious to us. Okay, we can use the inverse operation, the opposite of multiplication, to solve. Okay, essentially what we're doing is we're isolating h. We want to know what h is. Isolate that variable. So we would divide by 8 on both sides. That cancels out. This ends up giving us 6, which is our missing height. Okay, so some examples like this one, you might say, oh, h is 6. I know that because 8 times 6 is 48. But if you get numbers that aren't as obvious, aren't whole, aren't fractions, remember our work with algebra. Okay, you can use division in order to solve for that missing dimension. Okay, so we have a 2 o'clock meet. You have 4 questions that you're responsible for doing today, 2 of which are find the volume, 2 of which are missing dimension. So I will see you at 2.